Oh, hey, it's Rick.
Ciao, it's Millie.
And this, in case you're wondering, is episode 51.
No, it's not. Keep it in.
In case you're wondering, is episode 52
Cinquanta due
of season 2
where
of Yonks Ago. Look, full disclosure, we recorded the introduction and I forgot to press record. And then we recorded this much, much more sensible version. You're welcome.
This is Yonks Ago, coming into your ears. Now what are yonks? They're kinda like years. Just a father and a daughter who want to know all about some people from Yonks Ago. Interesting people who did interesting stuff, but about whom we don't know enough. So we're gonna dig deep and find it all out. Yonky doodlers know what we're all about. Yonks Ago, hey, ho, hey, Yonks Ago, hey, ho, hey, surely.
Whoa, all right, we're definitely recording. I've double-checked. So that's a good start.
Yeah.
After ballsing up the
Oh, it's
introduction.
an adequate start, I reckon.
It's the bare minimum, really, for a podcast is to press record.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just people sitting in a room talking, which is fine.
I mean, I
We do it all the time.
yeah,
It's a conversation.
I forget the word.
But you can't call yourself a podcast unless
No.
you're recording it and allowing other people to hear
Yeah.
that conversation.
Yeah.
Can ya?
No, not me.
And look, most of the times I remember to press record. Admittedly, sometimes I don't plug the right microphones in or make sure that those
Hey.
microphones are connected to the laptop.
Hey, we all make mistakes.
We all, especially me, make
yeah.
innumerable mistakes.
I make mistakes as well.
Hey, I didn't want to put the burden on you, but I know you do. You're like a mistake factory. You are. You barely get things right. I can't remember a time when you weren't mistaken. Your grasp of facts is minimal. That's why this podcast is, has been banned in several countries for its misleading use of facts. All right? We're on the run from the law.
When we say it's an educational podcast, we
Yeah.
mean that it's the opposite of educational.
Yeah, I have to put an asterisk next
Yeah.
to educational. You'll learn something.
It's like in maths when you do it's like the probability of this letter,
Yep.
probability of not this letter with the little dash next to it.
Yeah.
It's educational dash.
Yeah, that's us. The probability of learning facts and the probability of hearing this podcast.
Yeah.
There is no overlap. But, hey, we pass the time.
Yeah.
It passed the time. Hey,
Yeah.
don't blame us.
Hey.
Hey, if you want facts, buy an encyclopedia. All right? They need the business. No
Yeah.
one's buying encyclopedias anymore.
I think you mean encyclopedia.
Yeah. But what are you going to do when the Wi-Fi disappears? What are you going to do when the internet crashes?
I've got my music downloaded to my phone. I'll be fine.
That's not a Wikipedia.
Which just fell out of my pocket.
You don't need your phone because this is a time when we put the phones away.
Yeah.
And we focus on the olden days, the times of Yonks Ago.
Exactly. That is the name of the podcast.
It is. And this season, as we all know, is Nancy Wake.
Yes.
But if you haven't heard our first season, do yourself a favour, go back and listen to the story of Ned Kelly.
It's better.
It
No, I'm just
was
kidding.
short, sharp, and to the point.
Yeah.
We have delved a lot deeper into Nancy Wake because we've got more source material.
Exactly. Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you deep dive into Nancy Wake's story? She is a rich treasure trove
Exactly.
of life,
Yeah.
as was Ned Kelly. But
Last
it was
episode was disrespectful to me.
oh,
It was so disrespectful.
it was hard going. We had to face some hard facts. But look, speaking
Facts.
speaking of season 1, Ned Kelly, we got some mail. We got some mail in the
We
mailbag
got mail.
from one of our biggest fans.
It's like Sporticus. I got mail. That's some deep cuts right there from Lazy Town.
if anyone out there is a Lazy Town fan, that one was for you, and I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
I
Why
mean,
wouldn't you?
we appeal to all the Lazy
Stephanie's
Towners.
new in town.
Yonky Doodlers and Lazy Towners are one and the same a lot of the time.
Yep.
But we received in the mail a bit of correspondence
Yes.
from someone who's a huge fan. We've got a lot of appeal, this podcast.
I'm quite funny. I don't know about you. But
Admittedly, this fan of ours is my mum. And
you know what?
and your grandmother.
A fan is a fan.
Yeah. That doesn't diminish the fact that
No.
this huge Yonky Doodler, not in size but in veracity of fandom, was compelled to reach out and send us some correspondence, an article that appeared in the Herald Sun. The Herald Sun, I hear some of you Yonky Doodlers say, that's a rubbish newspaper. Hey, don't judge my mum.
Newspaper, more like, I got nothing.
Old's paper.
Oh, good
one. But hey, my mum reads the Herald Sun. What are you going to do about it?
I read absolutely nothing.
So
I mean, like,
in
who's
many
better?
yeah.
Not me.
Well, some would say that you're probably doing better by not reading anything than someone who reads the Herald Sun. But hey, I wouldn't say that because it's my mum you're talking about. But she knows. Hey, she's aware. She's just the paper she likes to read, and that's her choice.
Exactly.
And anyone who wants to come at her, that's fair enough. That's your choice.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop you.
No.
Or am I?
Oh, we don't know.
We'll find out when the battle lines are drawn.
Exactly.
But I've learned a lot of sweet moves from Nancy Wake. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, karate chop to the neck.
But the Herald Sun printed a little article.
More like Herald Moon.
About Ned Kelly.
Okay.
So this is a little throwback to season 1, a little epilogue, if you will, a little possible alternate ending. It might just be some fanciful fanfic.
Yeah. But hey.
But here's what we received in the mail from our Yonky Doodler fan base. And this article puts the theory out there that where's the important bit? I should have highlighted the important
do you not
bits.
do your
I read the article. But then I was like, well, I can't just read the whole article. That's going to take too much time.
Yeah.
But I didn't highlight the important bits. So I'm going to pause and just get my head together. All right, I've sorted myself out. All right.
Well done.
All right, let's. I found out where to start. All right, so look, I sounded like I knew what I was talking about then, and then I got confused. I thought I better contextualize where I'm going to start from. But no, I'm just going to throw myself in. Here's the theory. Someone is adamant that it was not Ned Kelly who was hanged at all, but rather his brother Dan. Well, this goes against a lot of the stuff we learned. Hey, settle. Just because we've got one version of the facts doesn't mean that's the actual facts.
Dan's an idiot, but...
The story that Dan was hanged in the place of his infamous brother was told to this person by her then deceased husband. So a friend of a friend told her.
Nah.
And this person who was a friend of a friend who was married to this cousin of a friend of a brother of a friend knew Ned Kelly. And they vowed that Ned had escaped through the back door of the burning Glenrowan Hotel.
Oh.
So when there's gunfire going everywhere, and that it was in fact Dan Kelly that had got dressed up in the famous.
What happened to Dan in our story?
Well, I think they just figured he was one of the shot people in the burnt out Glenrowan Hotel.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, who's that idiot? That dead body looks like an idiot. Well, that must be Dan Kelly.
Yeah.
But Dan Kelly was maybe not as dumb or maybe dumber than people thought. And he put on Ned's armor.
Yeah.
After Ned had escaped, Ned said, you know what would be funny, Dan? You wear my helmet. You put my stuff on.
It's better than yours.
Carry my wallet.
Yeah.
Head on out and start shooting at the coppers.
Yeah.
And Dan's like, that's a bloody great idea, Nedward. I'll do it. What I'll do is I'll try to get to the ute. I'll try to make it to the ute.
Yeah.
If I get to the ute, I'll make a run for it.
Yeah.
And I'll meet you back at home in the caves where we live. And Ned's like, "What? Go for gold, Dan, you idiot. Godspeed to you. I'll be heading out the back door. You distract him. You go out there shooting." And so while Dan was out there pretending to be Ned shooting at the police, Ned's like, yeet, out the back door. No one noticed.
Didn't happen.
And so then they didn't check. It's like they took the helmet off. They go, well, he looks like a Kelly because he did.
Yeah.
They looked similar enough. I didn't realize Ned Kelly looked so stupid. Like, I thought Ned Kelly was a smarty. Like, the idea I got of Ned was he was pretty, like, together.
Yeah.
This guy's a dummy. Oh, well, we got him, though. We got Ned Kelly, and they took him away. Dan Kelly pretended to be Ned the whole time. Is there more to the story? I think there is. So apparently, look, Ned was badly wounded from a gunshot wound to the hip, but he managed to mount his grey mare, whose name was Music. There's an actual fact that we didn't know about.
Music.
He hopped onto the music. He rode the music. He rode the music to freedom.
Do you think of Gandalf's white horse?
And he escaped. Well, it was grey. It says quite clearly it was a. It was his grey mare music, so I'm not thinking of a white horse at all.
That's the horse that I thought of. Okay.
And he escaped to the Kelly Caves near Marie.
Yeah. No, it was grey because he was wearing a disguise that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Everyone's in disguise.
Yeah, it's the grey armour. Yeah, silly.
And according to the source, after recuperating from the wound to the hip, Ned absconded back to Ireland, where he was later ordained as a Catholic priest. Hello. Eventually, he returned to Benalla. So he went to Ireland, became a Catholic priest, came back to Australia.
He wouldn't go to the effort, I don't reckon.
He came back as the priest in the Benalla area, which is where this person who was a friend of a cousin of a husband of a brother of a friend recognised him, and he was still walking with a pronounced limp. Classic Ned Kelly, because he got shot in the hip.
Exactly.
This source then told that the Kelly family was aware that it was Dan Kelly that was to face the hangman.
They were like, let him die.
But everyone, including Dan, vowed to keep silent about it because they're like, oh, Ned deserves to live.
Yeah.
And I'm Dan. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
What right do I have to swap places with Ned? If anyone's going to die, it might as well be me, the idiot.
Yeah.
And apparently Mrs. Kelly, her final words to her son Dan before he was to be hanged were, "Mind you die like a Kelly, son." And so people say this. I'm going to just get my head together and I apologise for sounding like I just had a stroke. I didn't. Or did I? We'll find out after I get rid of that burning toast that's in the toaster. There's no toast there. I had a stroke. Bit of stroke humour there. You're welcome. So she said, "Mind you die like a Kelly, son." And apparently she wouldn't have bothered. She wouldn't have had to say that to Ned because Ned's courage was without doubt. Everyone knew that Ned would die like a Kelly.
Yeah.
Like he sets the bar of what it's like to die like a Kelly. But she's like, I reckon Dan's going to start begging for mercy and he's going to embarrass himself when the noose goes around his neck. So I better warn him that he's representing the Kelly family up there. And everyone's like, that's a weird thing to say to Ned Kelly.
Yeah.
But if you imagine that it's Dan Kelly, it makes sense.
Okay.
Because she was like, my son's an idiot.
Yeah.
He's going to die like an idiot. I want him to die. People need to believe it's Ned Kelly dying up there.
Fair enough.
Better give him the stink eye.
Yeah.
And so that's the gist of the theory.
Yeah.
You can say it's rubbish, but it appeared in the Herald Sun. So that's an alternate ending for anyone out there. An alternate ending to season 1.
Yeah. Just like in Little Shop of Horrors, how there's like 2 movies where there's one where they live happily ever after.
Happily every after.
Yeah.
Every single possible after is happy.
And there's that one, spoilers, where they all die. So
yeah. Which one did they end up putting in the movie? I can't remember.
No, there are 2 movies. 2 full movies with both endings.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because I've seen them both.
Oh.
I've seen them both.
Oh, okay.
And I was very confused when I saw that second one. And I was like, that's not how I remember it ending. Because they were all dead. And I was like, what?
What now?
When the plants take over. Like facts. And the other one where they moved to their house that she was talking about in a place that's green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah.
Trust me on this one.
No, I know there was 2 different endings. I just can't believe that they're both out there.
Well, there's one for the kids because you don't want to scar them for life.
No, the movie does a fairly good job. Now we are, we've spent enough time on Ned Kelly on season 1 throwbacks. It's time to get.
This may as well be episode 18 of season 1.
I know, right? No, it is time to get back into the Nancy Wake. We're at the grim. We've just had the horrible news that Henri OG died protecting Nancy to the very end.
As he should, What a way to go.
Yes. And I finished the last episode without putting the last extra little bit, which would have really rounded out the story.
You have done that before.
I know.
No offense.
I can't believe I didn't add this last little bit. So we just learnt that she'd met Henri OG's dad in the street and he had a go at her, so she'd slapped him.
As she should.
And I think that was pretty much where we left it.
Yeah, I think it was as well.
But then an old friend she met in a Marseille restaurant told Nancy another thing about Henri's last months that she would never forget. After you left Maasai, she said, he would come to our house sometimes. Other times he would just stay at home. But all the time at our home or his, every night, he just sat and played Patience. He wouldn't go out to meet people.
The card game.
Yeah.
Bless, I love
Or
that
anyone.
card game.
All that time, just Patience.
Fair enough.
And whenever we tried to shake him out of it, he would look at us and say, I'm all right. I just want to wait until Nancy gets home. I thought you would want to know, her friend said. So that whole time, even though when she left, she said, we're on a break, go for gold, he did not take her up on the break. I suspect.
I didn't think you would.
No.
You know? In my heart.
I feel like he probably got up to more mischief when they weren't on a break, to be fair, because he was a Frenchman and Frenchmen will Frenchmen. That's what Frenchmen do.
Exactly.
But as soon as he had permission, as soon as it was official, you're on a break, let loose, he was like, no, Nancy, I will play Patience because I need patience to wait for you.
Yeah.
And so he did nothing with his wartime break, with his war break.
No, he played Patience.
I know, which he could have done even if you weren't on a break.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He did not need a wartime break to play Patience.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, at least Nancy did enough for both of them.
Yeah, she more than made up for it. Henri. Anyone with the name Henri, I think, got a real break experience. Except actual Henri, who just played Patience.
Yeah. And then died.
Now and the one bright spot
in
the otherwise extremely unhappy return was that she was reunited with Pecan, her beloved dog.
Pecan.
And the dog's name's Pecan. We knew that.
I don't remember.
It's been a while since we saw the dog. I thought the dog was dead.
Yeah.
I thought Henri was alive and the dog was dead. But guess what?
Yeah, because when they took him,
flip it.
When they took Henri, what happened to the dog? Was Claire still there?
Now, he had been cared for by friends.
Oh, nice.
And from the moment she knocked on the door and called out, that little terrier joyously barked up a storm. She was back, baby. In fact, the fact was, though, that Marseille would never again be a home to her. Without Henri, she simply did not want to stay there.
Fair enough.
Anymore.
Where's she going?
I don't know. But there was everything in her home had been sort of changed. All the furniture and stuff that she loved had disappeared.
Yeah.
Someone else had moved into the house, obviously, and she found out it was 3 female Gestapo agents who had lived there. Seemingly, only one artifact from her old life had survived, more or less intact. She found it in their cellar. All the wine had, of course, been consumed or taken, but there, on the floor, beneath all the rubbish, she found it.
What?
It was her copy of Anne of Green Gables.
Oh, what a book! What a book!
She rejoiced to find it somehow through everything. And through everything she'd been through, it was still there for her.
Fair
she
enough.
sat right there on the floor, turned to the opening page and began to read.
I can't relate. Reading a book, like people are just like, I read the whole book last night. I'm like, a whole book? I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me.
I can't believe I didn't go to that last bit so that because the last episode we had to endure the sad, tearful... You know, the loss of Henri, we had the graphic recounting of the torture he'd been through in his final days.
Yeah.
And then she meets his horrible dad in the street and they get into beef. And then I'm like, oh, well, that's where we end that story. But then if I just pushed through, she reunites with the dog. She finds Anne of Green Gables. I feel like that would have been a much better spot for me to end. But nah, guess who's a knucklehead? This guy here.
This one, not me.
No.
Who doesn't read?
So I mean, I'm a lot happier now.
Yeah.
She needed a little something to take the edge off. To take the edge off the grief.
How else than a dog, man?
And then Anne of Green Gables.
A little doggy.
So after tying up more loose ends and saying more goodbyes, Nancy, with Pecan in tow, returned to the chateau in L'Avignon. Where the rest of the Kelly gang were continuing their own mopping up operations, quite literally mopping out the chateau to return it to their owners who had kindly let them use it.
Yep.
And in
Very
between
nice.
time, it was non-stop party.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone wanted to celebrate, and everyone wanted to celebrate with the Kelly gangs.
Yeah.
There's like, oh, we're free. Who helped us? Kelly gang,
Kelly
come,
gang.
party. Time for tea, party. Oh, it's time for breakfast. Oh, it's party. So they've got very full time.
Yeah.
And then finally, the day came to say goodbye to the Kelly gang, to the
Aw.
intense life that they'd all lived together.
What about Trev?
On a shining morning in late September of 1944, with the car happily idling at the bottom of the chateau steps, Nancy embraced Henri II,
Oh, yeah. Legend.
and then said goodbye to all the fellow fighters who had not yet returned to their village. There were tears, vows that they would all meet again soon,
Yeah.
that they would never forget each other, that they would all write to each other regularly, and yet more last embraces and kisses on both cheeks. But do you reckon they did?
What? Do you reckon they do what?
Like keep in touch? You know how it is, like
Oh,
when
nah.
you have an intense experience with someone, like when you do a
have
show.
faith. I still have faith for One Direction, Dad. Have faith.
I mean, it's anyone who isn't up to speed. We talked a little bit about
The magic of the album 4.
and the renewed vigor with which Millie has embraced One Direction and all that One Direction stand for.
I just wish I was this age when they first came out.
I know you do.
That would have been an experience.
Yeah.
I was only 7.
But look, if anyone out there has any passing interest in One Direction, if you don't, look into it. Look, they're
Bro.
solid.
Listen to all their albums and then search them up on YouTube. You will not be disappointed.
But we've got a real carrot dangling in front of us at the moment, especially for Millie, because in just maybe 2 days' time, it will be July 23rd, and that will be officially the 10-year anniversary of One
From when
Direction.
they were formed on the X Factor.
And there's been a lot of teasing online, a lot of hints, a lot of speculation that there'll be some sort of bringing their hiatus to an end, because they never broke up, everyone, as you well know, as all the Directioners out there know.
18 months and they'll be back.
Yeah.
Guess how long it's been? 5 years.
Yeah. So they've been on
But they can never
hiatus
do
for
maths.
5 years.
They can never do maths.
They're terrible at maths
No.
because they spent too much time on the road instead of with the tutors.
Your math skills are terrible.
But, and so all the speculation is coming to a head on July 23rd. We will find out, will there be some sort of One Direction event where all the people who have kept the hope alive will get to release that pent-up One Direction energy?
If they tweet that they're going to break up, all the comments are just going to be, no, love heart. That's what we've decided.
Yeah, good.
Don't you reckon that'd be funny?
That would be a cruel joke on them to announce on their... Instead of doing
They
like
would,
a
though.
reunite,
They would, though.
I know they would.
though.
Anyway, this is just a bit of sizzle for our One Direction
Anyway.
podcast, our One Direction fan podcast that'll be
mean-
coming in 2022, maybe. But Nancy Wake, so maybe,
Yeah.
Would they have kept in touch? Fingers crossed they did.
Yeah.
People were much more about writing letters back
Yeah.
then. It was much more of a
I
real
think
way.
writing letters is cool.
I know, I want to do it more. I got to admit, when I received the Ned Kelly article in the mail from our number one fan, Yonky Doodle Grandma.
Sorry, Alexander.
Well, Alexander, who he's one of the few owners of Yonks Ago Yonks Ago merchandise.
Well, I have some.
We have some, but some of the Yonks Ago merchandise was made for us by my mum.
Yeah.
So she produced her own fan art for us, and that's got to put you.
Yeah.
Not only has my mum produced fan art for us and given it to us as a gift, she's also sent articles in the mail
Exactly.
about stuff we've talked about on the
If that's
podcast.
not input, then I don't know what is.
That's got to put you at number one fandom. I'm calling it, Alexander. You're a close
Up your
second.
game.
If you're out there, send us a letter.
Yeah.
Send us some fan art.
Yeah.
I mean, truth is, I don't know if Alexander even listens to the podcast
No, me
anymore.
either. Haven't heard about him in a while.
But look, we've been in isolation. We don't see people like we
That's
used to.
fair enough.
But I'm not saying it's a competition. But if anyone out there is trying to take the number one spot, you've got to lift your game, because my mum has stepped up.
Yeah.
All right, she is representing the fandom.
No need to get jealous,
Yeah.
but get jealous.
Just join the race. All right, you're not even in the arena at the moment.
No.
All right, but people out there, I know you've got your fandom in you. Let it free.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not going to say it's not a very high bar. It's a bar. My mum has set a bar.
Oh, yeah.
There's fan art. There's fan generated merchandise.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of correspondence sent to us in the mail.
Yeah.
Not everyone has our home address. I mean, she's got the
upper hand.
advantage. She can
Yeah.
send us actual mail.
Exactly.
Look, maybe
But
I need to set up.
there is social media.
Hey, find us on the Facebook.
Exactly.
Yonks Ago's on Facebook. Send us.
On Instagram as well. I mean, we haven't been on Instagram for a while.
We have been very inactive.
Yeah. But maybe because you have been inactive, so what's
Yeah.
the point, huh?
Come on, fandom,
It
step
takes
it up.
two. It takes two.
So here's hoping that they did stay in touch.
I reckon they did.
Yep. And then it was time for Nancy to turn around and walk away, get into the car and go. It had to end sometime, and that is when it ended. Just that day, this late September in 1944. And so Nancy, Trev, and
Hey, the trio.
drove north to Paris,
Oh,
where
yeah?
all the agents were meeting up in
Yeah.
Paris. Everyone who'd done their little, coordinating of crates, and everyone was getting together
Paris.
in the City of Lights, just living it up, still celebrating the whole time.
Yeah.
It was basically weeks of partying, dancing, and drinking as they continued to celebrate.
yeah, it was.
Nancy's in her element. But not everything was all sweetness and light.
No.
While she and a female friend, unnamed, I'm guessing, it was Michelin,
Michelin. Of course it was.
were taking the time to order. They were taking their time to order in a restaurant. Why be in a rush? It's not like the Germans are going to attack. They can take their time. Who's going to rush Nancy Wake? All right, she's
Not
been
me.
living in the bush.
Yeah.
It's like she's been in isolation.
Yeah.
For months and months and
Yeah.
months and months, and all of a sudden she's allowed to go to a cafe.
Yeah.
Let her take her time to enjoy looking at the menu.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I'm scared.
Nancy overheard a French waiter
Oh.
muttering that he much preferred to serve forthright Germans than these dithering English.
Oh.
He's like, at least the Germans, they get to the point. They know what they want. They order it. Sure, whatever.
The disrespect.
They invaded our country, and we lived under their rule. But me personally, as a waiter, I preferred it. That's what I'm saying. And she's like, oh, never. She's like, unbelievable.
Yeah, of course.
So using some of the best swear words she had learned over the previous decades in French, Nancy told the waiter exactly what she thought of him. And then, by way of emphasis, she punched him,
Oh, yeah, I thought
knocked
so.
him down with a single blow.
Yep, she knows. She knows how.
The man fell at her feet unconscious. He's lucky that she didn't give him the old karate chop to the
karate
neck,
chop.
because she's a trained weapon now.
Yeah.
And she's also, she's not used
She's
to...
seen things.
She's coming from wartime.
Yeah.
She's still in war mode.
Just
Sure.
Don't be disrespectful. Treat people with kindness, bro.
It might be seen by some, admittedly, as an overreaction. The waiter was
But
just
hey-
having a whinge.
Hey,
The waiter didn't realise she would understand what he was saying.
don't compare her to the Germans.
Yeah.
All right?
You've got to
And
understand.
you won't get punched in the face.
He should have seen the look in her eye. This is the
Yeah.
woman she's in war mode still,
Yeah.
and she will punch me in the face.
Yeah.
And she did.
Yeah.
The man fell at her feet unconscious while other waiters fluttered around nervously, and she noticed with satisfaction that they all were extremely careful to remain just out of her punching range. Then the maitre d' of the hotel arrived with a glass of his finest brandy intended to revive the still unconscious waiter.
Yeah.
But Nancy grabbed the brandy from his hand and downed it with a single swig. She says it was my favourite brandy, and I didn't want to be wasted on that nincompoop. She's not having it.
Michelin's just there clapping along.
Yep.
Like, well done.
She then returned to the table where her friend had been waiting patiently.
Yep.
Michelin, she's used to this kind of
Oh, yeah,
nonsense.
she's not phased.
And they went on with their meal. The next waiter made no comment at all on the time that they
As he
took to
should.
make their selection. Learnt. And while they enjoyed their meal in a liberated Paris to the east, the war continued as the Germans grimly held on. It's good to note that the war is still going. Just France is free. But the result of the war was now clear to all, obviously. I mean, it's October 1940. It's October 1944.
Yeah.
So they haven't officially lost, because I think it goes to 1945 sometime. I'm not sure exactly when it ends, but
Yeah.
the writing's on the wall for the
yeah.
Germans. And so on the 16th of October 1944, Nancy flew back to London, mission accomplished. Nancy was more fortunate than she knew at the time to be able to fly back relatively unscathed from her mission,
Yeah.
as many of her fellow agents had not survived at all.
Oh, no.
Makes sense. Not everyone's as wily as Nancy Wake.
No.
Here's some raw numbers for anyone who's in it for the stats. Just under 100 of the 469 operatives in the
69.
French section had been killed in action. And as many again were severely
Oh, wait, I didn't mean to
wounded.
laugh. I didn't mean to
Yeah.
laugh. I had zoned out. I
Yeah,
was
just thought, oh, Dad's saying something, I should giggle. He loves it when I giggle. Whatever, I'll throw a giggle in. I'm giving death stats, Millie.
I was thinking about how you said 169.
I know. Which again was part of the death stats, Millie. You need to get your head in the game. So I could have said 69 people were brutally murdered, and you'd be like, and I'd be like, Millie, death stats. You need a death stats mode. All right.
Okay, I mean
Death stats overrides funny numbers.
What?
Mode. Okay. All right, I'm going to round it up. How about that?
Oh, yeah, round it up.
Just
Round it down.
I'm going to round it up. Just under 100 of the 470 operatives
Yeah, okay.
had been killed in action,
Oh, no.
and just as many again were severely wounded.
Stop looking at me.
All right, I don't know if you're ready for death stats.
Rest in peace.
There
we
had
go.
been 39 women who had been given
39.
missions, and these,
Missions?
and of these,
Stop.
he's just repeating for every fourth word I say. There had been 39. 39. You're my hype man. There'd been 39 wounded. There had been 39 women who had been given missions, and of those, dozens had been killed outright.
Dozens? Yeah.
They've been killed. Outright.
Outlast. Hit him quick, get out fast.
And while 3 had been imprisoned and tortured at the infamous Ravensbrück concentration camp,
Ravensbrück concentration camp.
we missed the tone.
We
have got the tone completely wrong, and I apologise. I apologise to all the Yonky
To be
Doodlers
fair,
out there.
The words that you're saying, I'm not comprehending.
I
I'm
can
not.
I can tell, and I'm so sorry to everyone that I've allowed
I'm
it
in
to
it
get
now.
this bad.
Okay, I'll pull myself together.
Imprisoned and tortured at the Ravensbrück concentration
Oh.
camp, though had at least survived to tell the tale.
Oh.
I wish I'd never started that paragraph. I should have just added a link in the show notes so that people didn't have to suffer the indignity of us rapping death stats.
Oh no.
We've made a terrible error. Or
I
this was
started
the
it.
greatest podcast of all time. We're cutting edge.
We're making light of the situation.
You've got to find light in the darkness.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Hey,
When we said comedy podcast.
Yeah. So we understand if we're cancelled. That's fair.
Fair enough.
It was only a matter of time before our need
I was cancelled when I was born.
our need to wrap things has finally gotten the better of us.
Yeah.
And we've wrapped at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And we apologise. But we're cancelled now, so we're gonna.
So this is the last episode.
Just as we'd put the call out to activate the fandom, we alienated most of our fan base with our inappropriate rapping of death stats.
To be fair, it wasn't my fault. It was 69.
Yeah.
So blame it on the numbers.
You need to take a good long hard look at yourself, Millie. A good long hard look at yourself. Look, that's all the time. And that looks like it could be the end of Nancy's participation. She's flown back to London, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
That
Is
could
there
be
more
the
of the
end
book?
of her war. We are into next chapter of this book is the epilogue. So we are going into Nancy's post-war life, which we will go into
How?
because we focused on her life pre-war.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not saying that. But like, how are we going to whip up this? How are you going to whip up this wrap-up episode?
There's a lot going on. I'm going to have to. First of all, I need to I need to sit down and write down what I need to include in the wrap-up.
Yeah.
What were the key moments? What are the things that stick in your mind? First of all, Chucky waking it. That's in there.
Oh, for sure.
Let's brainstorm. Chucky waking it. That's in.
Her mum.
Her mum. She's in.
All of her siblings.
Summary of the siblings and what happened to them. So we've got good old Stanley. We've got the brother that may or may not have been murdered. We've got the...
Not Stanley.
No.
That
We've
was
got
Chucky Wake Jr.
Yeah, Chucky Jr.
Yeah.
We've got the daughter...
Hazel!
We've got Hazel, who I think might have
had a boyfriend.
Might have died in the first car accident on the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on.
Oh, the Sydney Harbour Bridge, isn't it?
We've got her trip to New Zealand where she meets...
Hiding under a house. That probably doesn't have to go in it.
We've got her auntie who...
Jumping out the window, sorry.
Her auntie who leaves her money.
Yeah.
So she's allowed to go on a tour around the world. We've got her trip around the world. She lives it up in New York.
New York City was where
She
it was
goes
at.
to London.
London was where it was not at.
No, she heads to Paris.
Yeah.
She becomes a journalist.
Oh.
She meets
Henri.
Oh, gee. She
goes to...
War starts to start. You know, the rise of the German Empire starts to become a little on the nose for her, so she has to check it out. She goes to Berlin.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to stop my summary here because I'm starting to get inspired.
Okay.
All right. I don't want to.
Fair enough.
That was just a bit of sizzle.
Yeah, a bit of
all
sizzle
right?
for what's to come.
It's going to be about an hour and a half long, the wrap up.
But hey.
But it's going to be worth every second of it. And it's going to end with us inappropriately rapping death stats and then just cut to static.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to anyone who's stuck with us through our foibles. And thank you to our number one Yonky Doodler, my mum. Everyone else, step up your game.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing how it all plays out when we come back for the next episode of Yonks Ago!
Get hyped for July 23rd. That's the end.